Character clash. Ready?
Round 1.
Physical skills.
Annabelle has the agility of a rock and the charisma of a sail mannequin. But of course, we're not talking about her power to convince, but rather brute strength or lack thereof. She's more about causing terror from the shadows and making lights flicker, not throwing punches. She looks like she couldn't even swat a fly until she rips your eyes out. It's true that she has a supernatural resistance to attempts at destruction, and that gives her some points, but only because she's a piece of evil porcelain. But her ability to appear and disappear like a stain on the couch is her strength. Although if you decide to stay in her room, you won't need to do yoga to stretch, as she'll move your limbs as if you were clay. Who needs muscles when you can summon demons? Slappy has a bit more mobility than Annabelle, which gives him a bit of an advantage. At least he moves, even if it's like a stiff puppet in a low-budget movie. As for raw strength, he can scare the shit out of you and wreak havoc with just his glare. When he takes a step, it's like watching a kid on stilts trying to impress everyone. But let's not underestimate this animated piece of wood, because if anything, it has initiative and enviable flexibility for a 90s doll. Although he's as tall as a table lamp, his paranormal strength makes the comparison at least balanced. He can take good bites and move around like crazy, but he's half a step away from ending up as kindling for a campfire. Who knew a piece of wood would be more agile than a collectible doll?
Round 2.
Combat skills.
Annabelle, a master of stealth that would make Batman himself weep. Her combat technique is practically non-existent. Her methods include standing still in a dark corner and possessing anyone who has the bad idea to touch her, and leaving macabre clues that any normal human would understand as stay away. She doesn't move, but that's the trick. She appears where you least expect her and leaves the unfortunate ones with their souls on the verge of heart attacks. She can appear with eerie calm in a dark corner or manipulate other beings and objects to attack, but her capabilities for a one-on-one fight are in doubt. If things get serious, she might summon some entity from the underworld, although with no guarantee of loyalty. She's not a fighter per se, but who needs kung fu when you've got demons doing the dirty work? Slappy is not only cunning, but he has a wealth of experience tricking his victims. His ability to manipulate weak minds gives him a sinister edge, and while he's not physically imposing, he moves and strikes at the perfect time. He's mastered the art of stealth, especially when it comes to appearing at the worst possible moment and turning normal situations into scenes of terror. Unlike Annabelle, he's not content with passive observation, he strikes. His sadism is as strong as his ability to create chills, always managing to surprise his enemies or victims. With his venomous tongue and sarcasm, Slappy knows how to psychologically manipulate anyone. As if that would count for Annabelle, well, maybe a little. As for direct combat, he might scratch you or headbutt you like a weirdo, but at least he knows how to hide until the right moment to deliver a scare. That said, compared to Annabelle's ability to wreak havoc without moving, Slappy falls short, right?
Round 3.
Survival skills.
Annabelle has survived for decades, passing from one victim to the next. She's incredibly resilient, especially considering she's the host of several demonic entities, rituals, and the backing of the Conjuring verse. Whether she's thrown away, burned, attempted to be exorcised, chewed up by curious paranormal investigators and teens, or glued with gum, she always comes back, without a single crack. She could spend years at the bottom of a river or hidden in a closet and then emerge as if nothing happened, ready for a new round of terror. She can't be destroyed by traditional methods, which gives her an advantage. Sure, being a magnet for misfortune doesn't help her popularity much, but surviving, she does well. However, by relying on others to get around and wield her power, her survival is more indirect. No matter how many times she's locked away, exorcised, or disposed of, she always comes back, and with a vengeance. Locked away in a blessed display case? Bah, for her it's like a vacation. Slappy, who has a slightly higher level of self-sufficiency and cunning than his rival, adapts to any situation. For his part, he has survived countless attempts at destruction by frightened children and desperate parents. He is like spam in your inbox, he always comes back. When things get tense, he knows how to survive and manipulate or simply hide. Slappy is more vulnerable, despite his pride. His spells are not infallible, and if someone manages to recite the right words, he can be knocked out faster than a console without electricity. Of course, the guy has guts. He always finds someone dumb enough to wake him up and unleash his madness, which has made him famous in the Goosebumps universe. However, when faced with Annabelle and her connection to the supernatural, Slappy is seen as almost as a fan of scares. Slappy can be destroyed, but he always finds an owner willing to free him. Although he relies on his cunning and ability to manipulate others, however, in the face of Annabelle and her connection to the supernatural, Slappy is more vulnerable despite his pride. His spells are not infallible, and if someone manages to recite the right words, they can be put out of action. Thanks to his implicit immortality and instinct, he always finds a way to get out unscathed, achieving active rather than passive survival.
Round 4.
Unprepared.
In an impromptu encounter, Annabelle has the advantage of her aura of deceptive innocence. She's like that dessert that looks harmless but gives you indigestion for a week. Slappy, with his big mouth and tendency to make snide remarks, would probably give himself away first. She's like that friend who can't keep a secret if his life depended on it. Annabelle could narrowly win, taking advantage of the element of surprise while Slappy is busy making a bad joke about possessed dolls. She could watch him from the corner and manipulate the environment, making her own powers do the heavy lifting without lifting a finger. While she might succeed in some respects, her presence is enough to paralyze with fear, though the lack of working hands and legs may limit his strategy. One wink from her expressionless eyes, and Slappy is already wondering if he should have been a porcelain doll instead of a ventriloquist dummy. Slappy might act annoyed if someone dared invade his space unannounced, but he doesn't need much preparation to make an impact. He'd try to intimidate her with his sarcastic laugh and crazed stare, but Annabelle wouldn't bat an eyelid, literally. Taking advantage of his mobility and a cruel sense of irony, Slappy would end up throwing himself headlong into the situation, taunting Annabelle and dodging any demonic attempts with quite a bit of style. He'd take the initiative. His attacks are more direct, and he doesn't wait as long to wreak havoc. He'd likely be the first to strike, as he's not as patient as Annabelle. In the end, Slappy might end up calling for help or trying to blackmail his demon allies if any were left, and it seems like it would work. But he tries. In the end, it would be a battle of stares and spine-tingling laughter that would leave any viewer in need of therapy.
Round 5.
With preparation.
With preparation, Annabelle would not only take her horror game to the next level, but she would also have her coven of demons and spirits at her disposal. Given a little time, if someone dares to prepare Annabelle, this doll becomes a magnet for demonic misfortune. Not only would Annabelle unleash her own malevolent influence, but she would harness the power of her possessed surroundings. She could summon any spirit from the Conjuring verse. She would use all the energies and entities she can manipulate around her to slowly and effectively wear Slappy down. However, this third-party strategy has its weakness, especially if faced with someone who moves with agility and knows when to strike. Slappy, with a clear strategy, becomes an even bigger nightmare. His ability to anticipate moves and calculating nature help him create an atmosphere of fear before coming face to face. He would probably set up a series of traps worthy of the Roadrunner, but with a more sinister twist. He would also bring his own allies, an arsenal of possessed objects and gadgets to increase his impact. But he doesn't have the same range of dark influences as Annabelle. Still, he is persistent and cruel. He wouldn't hesitate to take advantage of any perceived weakness, although in this fight, weaknesses are few. It could be like comparing a military general to a cult leader. Both are dangerous, but in very different ways.
Round 6.
General data.
Annabelle. Physical skills 3. Combat skills 8. Survival skills 9. Unprepared 7. With preparation 8. Total 35. Slappy. Physical skills 7. Combat skills 6. Survival skills 6. Unprepared 6. With preparation 7. Total 32.
Final round.
Conclusion.
Annabelle takes the win in this battle of evil toys by a narrow margin. Her demonic nature gives her a significant advantage in terms of survival and manipulating the environment. While Slappy relies heavily on his physical abilities and cunning, Annabelle can literally bend reality to her will. It's like comparing a children's party magician to Satan himself. Both can do tricks, but one has access to the power of hell. Annabelle's ability to create illusions and manipulate objects makes her a constant and unpredictable threat. Slappy might think he's winning, only to discover that he's been fighting his own reflection the whole time. Plus, Annabelle's supernatural resilience means she can withstand punishments that would leave Slappy in splinters. Let's not underestimate Slappy, though. His wit and ability to create mayhem might keep him in the game longer than we'd expect. His experience terrorizing children in the Goosebumps novels gives him an edge when it comes to malevolent creativity. But in the end, Annabelle's sheer demonic evil outweighs the tricks of a ventriloquist dummy, however diabolical. It's like pitting a practical joker against a demon from hell. Both are annoying, but one has the power to damn your soul for all eternity. Not only would Annabelle win the battle, but she would likely end up possessing Slappy, just to add insult to injury. In the end, Annabelle's victory reminds us that in the world of horror, it's always better to bet on the demon than the talking doll. As Slappy would say, just before being sucked into a portal to hell, "Wow, looks like I'm the dummy this time. Anyone got an eternal fire extinguisher?"
Do you agree with the result? And if not, tell me why. If you liked this video, please subscribe, like and share.